everyone, this is Star Zenith 33 Laura Francesca here, talking to you guys on Father's Day. By the way, happy Father's Day to all the fathers around the world, and I hope you are enjoying your celebration. Maybe watching the FIFA, right? Like my father is doing. So let's talk about something very important, which is Chiron and Taurus, which just entered, and she is in a pissy off mood. Okay, so I'm not talking about pertaining to anybody in particular that might be a Taurus, and I'm talking about the astrology. Okay, with the astrology, we can name these characters and so forth. And for me, Chiron and Taurus, she is that itch. Okay, so let's go in there. So, welcome to the Astroweather Celestial Clockwork, where I talk about the astrology and the frequencies and everything that is going on, including on Sundays. Okay, so I don't have a set schedule. I don't have, like, Mondays and Wednesdays at 6 p.m. The show will be. I wish I could do that, but I realize that I can't do that because I have a bilingual podcast. So not only do I do English, but I also do Spanish. Okay, for those that don't know. So you can also listen to the Spanish podcast, whether you know Spanish or not, right? Maybe you want to learn Spanish, and you can also listen to the Spanish podcast. Or if you already know Spanish, it would be a double treat for you, because sometimes I don't say everything in the English podcast that I will forget to say, because I do tend to say a lot, and I will forget. I say, oh my gosh, I forgot to say about this. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll include it in the Spanish podcast, so you will hear it there, if you understand the Spanish language, right? But everybody's hopping into the language of Spanish. Okay, I'm seeing even like these ads in YouTube where they have these robots. So now you could download the app, and these robots are teaching you how to speak Spanish, right? And why Spanish? Well, Spanish is in demand. Okay, we know here in the United States is 4.4 trillion the GDP. And I've always said, if Italian was a language that was in demand, right, in the United States, which it's not, but if it was, I would be wise to learn the Italian language because it's in demand, right? So, but fortunately, we do have the Spanish language that's in demand, and it's not whether you want to be cool or not. It's whether what is going to do with your business, when it comes to connecting with others and so forth, especially, and I speak for, because I'm Hispanic. Okay, I'm of Mexican descent because of my parents. They're both from Mexico. And I know how our people work. Okay, and every time you speak to someone, let's say you're an American or European, and if you speak Spanish, even if it's a little bit, and you communicate with them, like, there's something about, especially Mexicans, they so appreciate it. For them, it's like, oh my gosh, have you seen those videos of these Asians right now with the FIFA, where they're speaking like perfect Spanish? I'm like, wow, I'm like so amazed, that they speak it so perfect, like maybe not totally perfect, but I mean, even the accent and the way Mexicans are in Mexico, right? Their like their language and the characteristics in Mexico, like they mimic all that, and I'm like, gosh, they're so smart, and you wouldn't even think, only because they have slanted eyes and they have small eyes, and that's probably about the only that. But if you would hear them in a microphone, you probably would think they're Mexican, and that's insane. So these robots in this app, they teach you, even the accent and how to say it, kind of how to, and so what happens is Hispanics appreciate that, and they want to connect with you more because you speak the Spanish language. And they'll even want to buy you some tacos. They will. They'll want to, buy you some tacos and so forth, But here in the United States, the GDP is really high, okay? 4.4 trillion. We're not talking billions. We're not talking millions, we're not talking billions, we're talking trillions, okay? And if they say, well, why have Mexicans have not made a difference and so forth? Well, now they are, okay? And maybe it took the FIFA, right? To, we won already 2 times. Mexico already won 2 times. And so there's something about the FIFA and Mexicans getting recognized. And finally, because we have been the underdogs, everybody has been recognized except Mexicans, right? When it comes, especially at 4.4 trillion. Like, what is wrong that Mexicans have not elevated, And I know that Bad Bunny, he did a contribution there with Latinos, right? Because the 4.4 trillion is not all Mexicans. It's a Latino GDP, right? So it involves everybody, every Latino, every Cuban, every Puerto Rican, every Panamanian, every Costa Rican, from from Brazil, from Argentina, from everywhere, right? So we're really huge, okay, in the United States. And what Bad Bunny did with the NFL, and then where did he perform in Spain? That was really huge there. Mm. I'm drinking some Budweiser right now, by the way, some Bud Light. I have it in my glass, my champagne glass. It's been kind of hot. I feel like it's been a little bit sunny, so um, I don't know if you could hear the AC in the background. You might hear it, but I just said, I'm gonna just, drink a little bit, while I podcast, because actually also I've been wanting to take a bath, and in this because I bought these like bath salts, right? That that have a lot of like oranges in it and lemons. It's very like Italian. It's not regular bath salts. They're infused with like lemons and oranges, and they make you feel royalty. Okay, it has that royal vibe. So I've been wanting to try them, and I'm like, let me try them now that I can. It's Sunday, and it is Father's Day, so let the fathers do what they have to do, enjoy themselves with the game and the FIFA and eating the pizza and the beer and all that. And I'm going to enjoy myself today. So and just rest and relax and stuff. So anyway, the podcast here is about Chiron and Taurus. So that's just a little bit on the, I feel the FIFA is elevating Latinos. There's Latinos from everywhere. I think Ecuador was playing today and Spain or something like that. I heard my dad mention something about that. And so, but I don't really have time to just sit there and watch it, I rather watch it outdoors, you know what I mean? Like somewhere, like which I am in July. I don't know who's going to play in July. They said July, like July 14th through. That's gonna where it's gonna be here in our town, and it's gonna be so cool because it's gonna be right by the water and stuff. So I'm planning to, do it VIP, and so we'll see what happens. I don't know who's playing, in July. So I think we have to first see who's winning and so forth, and then it will be kind of cool if Mexico wins, but you can't expect miracles, right? So they already won 2 times, and I think they're in the finales or the top right now. And let's see who else they're going to play against. So anyway, let's talk about Chiron and Taurus, because when I see the chart, I already knew Chiron and Taurus was doing a lot of havoc. I already knew that there was going to be squares and so forth, and oppositions, right? So I said, let me talk about it, because there might be people that don't know what is happening. Maybe they're going through something and they're like, they don't know what's happening. Why do I feel this way? Why is this happening? Why do I feel blocked here? Why does this feel so difficult? Why does, of course you can do little things to unblock that, right? Like I said, take baths, put some oils on you, smell good, because when you smell good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you do good, right? And so it rules your brain when you wear something like oils. Like I've been talking about oils and stuff, and I invest in different brands. Okay, it's not just one certain brand. I invest in different brands, but I love oils that smell really good, And it's interesting because I recently bought an oil that smells like strawberries, right? And every time I wear it, I kind of feel fresa, If you know fresa, in Mexico, if you're like a strawberry, if you smell like, it's not smelling like a strawberry. They say if you're a fresa, if you're a strawberry in Mexico, I think mostly like Mexico City, you would be, or even Jalisco too. They have some fresas there where these females they're called fresas. They're called strawberries because they're the more elevated type of females, where they come from, money and so forth. And, they wear the Louis Vuitton and the Chanel and, all these. And mostly a lot of them have families in the cartel, okay? The majority of them. So they either have an uncle or a father, a grandfather, or a cousin or something, that has money, and they're these spoiled, they look very European. They look white and like blonde hair or brown hair, or they'll have color eyes or something like that. But you could just tell like they're very elevated. They're called strawberries, and they don't have to work. Okay, they probably don't even have jobs. You know what I mean? That's all they do. They just use social media probably. And so they're called strawberries. And so there was this strawberry oil that I bought recently, and it smells so good. It smells like strawberry. And I was wearing it, and it reminded me, like, oh my gosh, it's so funny because, I smell like strawberry. And then it brought me thoughts of Mexico, of the strawberry females there, right? And I don't know, it just smells so good, it smells like strawberries, right? And when I was wearing it, I'm not lying, I was seeing a lot of, I don't know what the word is called, but when you think of something or you're wearing something and all of a sudden you see it everywhere, right? I know in neuroscience there's this word, I forgot the word, but anyway. And I had learned this several years ago when I was in network marketing. I heard this multimillionaire talk about when you start when you start either wearing, like, let's say oil, or talking about a certain topic, or saying, I want a red car. Or for instance, let's talk about the Vespa, right? Because right now I'm on this. I don't know what it is about Italy, right? And I know what it is. Venus just entered Leo. Okay, so that could be something there. Okay, and I'm on this Vespa kind of. I'm not just Vespa, but on this e-bike and this motorbikes and motorcycles and mopeds and all that, and I seen the Vespa, and I was like, because I seen them in a museum. Okay, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. There's a ship that came here to our town from Italy, and we entered the museum, and in the museum they had a red Vespa moped, and it looked so cool. And I was like, oh, that looks so cool. Yeah, they were just showing a lot of products from Italy, right? And the Vespa moped was there, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. That looks so cool to be riding in, right? And you look so cool in it too, right? So I don't know what it is, that I wanted to Google and see, how much they are and so forth and all this. So I'm on this whole bike thing. Okay, I don't know. I'm not gonna get a Vespa. I mean, unless a miracle comes. But I still have to get a license if I would have to drive it anyway. Because here in California, I found out that you need a moped license, but in Arizona or Florida, you don't need it. Okay, as long as you just have your regular driver's license, you could drive one. So it's interesting in California that over here you do have to take a test. I think it's a written test depending on the engine motor, and so that's what I researched today. So anyway, so it's a little bit more like another requirement, right? So I'd rather just get me an e-bike, which is so cool. They kind of look a little bit similar, but a Vespa is like a vehicle. Okay, so you can't, it's not by a battery, you put gas in it. Okay, so it can't take you to far places. But the e-bikes, they have a battery on there, so you got to charge the battery all the time, when it dies, and then put it back in there, and then it'll take you to places. But I don't think it'll take you that far. I think it's more like just local running errands, and that's what I want one for anyway. So anyway, and I will get it in July. God willing. So, this Chiron that I'm trying to talk about here in Taurus. She's doing a lot of havoc, okay? And I did mention Venus just entered Leo, so you might, have these thoughts about maybe eating Italian food or investing in Italian products or something like that. And, Leo is not all about Italy, but I think just, I think for me personally, why I've been thinking about the Vespa, because that's an Italian product, right? I think the reason is because my fourth house, okay, in astrology and my chart is in Leo, okay, and so my fourth house is conjuncting Venus in Leo, right? It just depends where you have it. And so for me, the fourth house has to do with roots, lineage, ancestry, your house, right? It also has to do with your body. And it just is coming together with this Venus, right? So it might be an example, might be, I want to beautify my home. I want to make it more gold. I want to wear more gold because it rules the body as well. Um, or be more loving, strengthen the heart. I don't have heart problems, thank God. Knock on wood 3 times. I don't, but you know, I can open my heart more, through like oils or, um, and so forth, and just be happy, right? Feel joyous and happy. And there's a lot of things that you can do, okay, to make you feel. I do a lot of things that make me feel good, okay? I do champagne baths. And they work, okay. I diluted half water because then your eyes will be all red. This is why when you see these championships and they're always with the champagne, they're wearing goggles, okay, so the champagne won't go in their eyes because then your eyes will get red. But I diluted, okay, I diluted the champagne with half water, half champagne, and then I just put it on my body, in my head, and make sure it feels good and everything. And I do feel like I get more lucky. And especially is good right now. So Leo is not all about Italy, it's also wherever you have Leo. It also rules Mexico, okay. This is why they have big old lion, I think in the city of Mexico. I think it's Mexico City or Jalisco, one of them. In Jalisco, in the history days, Leo rules Jalisco. This is why a lot of men in Jalisco, they act like they're royalty, okay? When it comes to their marriages and so forth. Like the woman needs to cater to them and needs to, you know, um, tend to them. And I don't like that lifestyle, to tell you the truth. When I see it, I'm like, no. And my dad can be like that too. Because this is his return with Venus and Leo. So he was born with Venus and Leo. And so he expects to be treated like royalty, right, in the house. But he doesn't always get it. So my mom's like, no. My mom could be, she could, yeah, she could, she doesn't always obey him because she is a fiery tiger. So, tigers, they do their own thing. So, it happens. Nobody has a perfect marriage, okay? There's always going to be problems in marriages, but as long as you work it out and you try to work it, you got to deal with it. You're going to be married for that person for a long time. I mean, unless there's really bad problems, then, you should divorce, right? But you should not be, getting abused or anything like that, okay? But usually, if it's something small, of course you got to work it out. That's what marriage is. That's why some people are not made for marriages, because they don't like working things out. And it's part of. I feel Virgos can be very good with marriages because Virgos will never quit. Virgos will never divorce. They will not. They will not. Usually, if they do, is because it was like a big old issue, or they just couldn't handle the partner at all. But usually Virgos are the ones that stick it through. If they really love you, they're going to stick it through. They're going to, do the work necessary to make it work. And it's not going to just leave you hanging like that. So I appreciate that with my dad because honestly, if it was somebody else, like another man, he probably would have left my mom a long time ago. And so, They both work it out together, so marriages are not perfect. So the Chiron in Taurus right now is making let's jump in there where it's at right now. Right now it's in the fifth house of entertainment, the fifth house of life, in the fifth house of I express myself. Okay, so it has to do with enjoyment, with pleasures, with amusement, the FIFA games, right? Any sports and gambling like Las Vegas, and it has to do also with hobbies and speculations and games and vacations, how you express yourself and how you are creative. Okay, it can also include anything artistic and the fine arts. Okay, it also has to do with children, and it has to do with the process of being educational with children. It could be like books and helping kids to be more educational and so forth. And it could include parties, also social entertainment, especially what we're seeing with the FIFA that's happening everywhere, right? So that's all the fifth house. And that is where Chiron is in Taurus. Isn't that interesting? And it's at 0 degrees of rebellion. It's all or nothing. Okay. So I heard a download before I jumped on the podcast, and the download was we need Aries Chiron back. And it's interesting that I heard that download, and I'm like, yeah, well, we probably didn't appreciate Aries in Chiron, because Aries in Chiron was more about taking action. That's how we heal. That's it. That's it. As long as you take action, you will heal. If you don't take action, you're not going to heal. Okay, and things are going to happen in your life where you have to take action, right? The things that have happened to people is the bad things is because they have not taken action. They've just been sitting on their ass, on a couch or on a bed or something, and not doing anything. And so here comes the situation that's going to make you get out of your bed, get out of your couch, get out of the chair, get out of the room, right? And you have to take action, and you have to be that leader. And a lot of those things happened in the past, in the recent past, right? When we had Chiron and Aries. But now, and it's just about taking action. That's how you heal, and you feel good. You feel like a leader. You feel you did the right thing, right? But Chiron and Taurus, it's a whole different ballgame. Okay? Chiron and Taurus has to do with worth. It has to do with self-esteem. It has to do with how you value yourself, right? And when it's at 0 degrees of all or nothing, then in the sign of Taurus, of worth and real estate and slowing down, I do have to say, okay, these are more slowing times right now versus when it was in Aries, it was fast. Now, keep in mind, this is only going to be for 3 months, okay, up until September. And then Aries is going to jump back in there. So we'll have Aries again. But for now, we got to adapt to this Taurus energy, ruled by Venus, which is love. Okay, love and value and worth and money, and if you don't have money, you're not going to feel good about yourself. If you don't have the right home, you might not be feeling good about yourself. If you don't have the right, I don't know, anything that you perceive to be of value, okay? It could be clothing, fashion, it could be the latest shoes. It could be maybe feeling a little bit more valuable, more beautiful or something. There's a lot of things you could do. You could start, maybe putting on makeup if you didn't put makeup on before, and start doing it in different ways. I actually seen a eyeliner yesterday. I think it was on YouTube, and it was this girl, this influencer, and she was putting some black eyeliner like they do in Egypt, right? And they said that the way, I don't know if that's true or not, but according to in Egypt, of how you use the black eyeliner, and it looks like a cat, okay? And you put it on with your eyes closed. You probably go poke your eye, but they're just like really good at it, because they're like Egyptians or something. But they put it on with their eyes closed, and then when they open their eyes, the eyes look like a cat, like an Egyptian cat, right? And they said also that that eyeliner that comes from that area in Egypt is also known as the evil eye liner. So there's something about it's known in Egypt for that, the evil eye liner, when you wear it, like it takes away the evil eye or something. So I don't know what's up with that, but that's the first that I heard. So there could be things like that that are trending when it comes to like makeup. Maybe you want to do your makeup a little bit different. I do my own cat eyeliner. I do that on my own. I just use a regular black eyeliner. Well, not regular, but I think I use like what is it, the L'Oreal or whatever it is, and I do the eyeliner on my eye, and I do it like a cat. So it's not just, one way. I do it two lines. And yeah, it looks different, but I like being different. I don't just do one line, I do two lines. So it looks like I'm a cat. And I just like how it looks. I just look different. I can look a little bit Egyptian with, that look. So anyway, you could do different things, to stand out, to look different. And so right now with rebellion of Chiron and Taurus has to do with Venus, it has to do with females. There might be some females that might be a little bit more rebellious than usual. Okay. I do have to say it's coming together with the asteroid of Banks. Okay. That is where Chiron and Taurus is. So that's very important because Banks is at a 3 degree of communication. So there's a lot of communication that needs to be done, or it could be Banks in your vicinity, in your community, in your environment, okay, coming together with this Chiron and Taurus. There might be some sort of healing, or there might be some changes with banks. Okay, like these are the new rules now. We change the rules now. This is what's going to happen with the bank, or maybe these hours are only open during these hours, or I don't know. It could be something different pertaining to banks. Okay, and and it has to do with communication. There's some sort of communication on here, and it is at the fifth house there as well. So it has to do probably with celebrities, because it's the house of Leo ruling Hollywood. It could be entertainment. It could be, or maybe some banks that need to put some money out there. When it comes to, or it could be like credit cards. It could be ATM cards, or maybe certain places we only accept ATM cards. You know what I mean? We're not accepting cash or something. It could be something like that, right? So I feel that the communication has to be clear when it comes to these venues, like the whole FIFA, right? The tickets, the high prices that they've been selling and so forth. And, huge money, that is being put out there. But then they have to owe, money to the bank, or you have to pay the credit card, right? Because you used the money, or it was a loan on a credit card, and you bought a big old ticket that costed like $3,000 for the FIFA ticket, and now you got to pay it back with interest. Okay, so who knows when you're going to finish paying that, right? And the Chiron on top of the banks there's some sort of healing that needs to happen, and a lesson that needs to happen as well of did you need to buy that ticket? Because now you're in debt, and now you got to pay interest, and now you have to heal, right? So there also could be, Taurus also has to do with marriages, okay? And so there might be more problems. I do feel that this whole FIFA can also bring problems to marriages. I know, and I'm not trying to be, all negative or anything like that. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy or something. I am just saying that, because Taurus rules marriages, and there's something that needs to be healed within marriages, coming together with banks, it might be something to do with money. And it might be that, the husband went out with the guys, and they went to go watch at the Coliseum. They went to go watch, they didn't take the wife, and they just went with all the friends, enjoyed themselves, bought some beers. They used everything that they had on the credit card. And now they owe the bill, and now the wife finds out, and she's like, oh my gosh, what happened? Why do we have such a huge bill? And now he has to pay the bill, and now he has to work really hard to pay off the bill. And that's karma for him for not taking the wife there, you know. I could see something like that. And then now there's problems between the marriages where they don't know how to handle money, and they're using it very unwisely and very selfishly too. And so now they have to heal that, right? There's a lesson to be learned when it comes to money there. And yeah, I'm hearing having to build a standard. That's what's coming in. Having to build a standard. Yeah, it's a boundary, you know, just know where you have to spend the money and where you don't, you know, um, because the game is over and done after 2 hours or 3 hours, right? But then after that is celebration, right? More money, right? And honestly, I don't think we're in that type of economy where we should be spending a lot of money. You know, we should actually be saving some money or investing in some money to grow our money, right? But I understand it's a FIFA, it's a celebration. You know, it is a year of celebration with Leo and Jupiter that's about to enter, and we have Venus in Leo already. Okay, so you know we're feeling happy, we're feeling joyous, and it's great. It's all great. But when it comes to money, there could be problems with marriages. So instead of showing off that you have all this and you've done all this and everything for like selfies and videos and everything, you know, if you don't have the money, it would be wise to, you know, avoid any overspending because it could land you in the doggy house. Okay. There could be problems with the marriages. I'm just putting it out there, okay? Because Chiron and Taurus, there I do predict there's going to be more divorces, okay? And it's going to pertain to money, okay? So just watch out for that because it's in the fifth house of entertainment where we have to heal right now, okay? So there could be the whole FIFA. I mean, you know, my dad's watching the FIFA, but I think he's been watching, he even watches the replays. And I'm just like, Jesus, you know, like, does he have to watch it all day? Like, I mean, lucky I'm not his wife, you know what I mean? But it's like he's just glued to it. But it's okay. It's Father's Day, right? It's his day. So he could watch it anytime he watches. But I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, does he even get tired? And he doesn't. He could watch it all day. And I'm like, he could watch his TV all day, just FIFA, like all day, you know? And I don't know, sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I'm not, I mean, I like soccer, I like sports, you know, and so forth. But I can't be glued to the TV like all day, you know? Like, I don't know how he does it. Like, he doesn't get bored of it, you know? Maybe he's just super passionate about soccer, you know? A lot of people are. So, anyway, but that's where there's some healing that needs to be done there with the entertainment, with money, something pertaining to banks, okay? Now that we have that there, and we talked about that, um, Chiron is also, um, it's challenging, which is bringing a square to Mercury. Okay, so this is why I didn't want to talk a lot either, because it is squaring Mercury and the communication we're doing, so it's bringing a challenge to what we're talking about. Okay, and let me where are you? Mercury is in Cancer, okay? Luckily it's not in retrograde yet, okay? But it is going to jump into retrograde. But right now it is challenging Mercury at 24 degrees of prophecy, okay? So I mean, if you have to say whatever you have to say, speak it, say it, right? And where it's challenging, Chiron is challenging Mercury in Cancer. It has to do with families, and there's something prophetic pertaining to that. Okay, so Mercury at 24 degrees is in the eighth house. Dun 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 dun. Okay, eighth house has to do with we have. Okay, and it has to do with money. It had to do with legacies and wills and taxes, insurance, contracts, inheritance. It has to do, it governs any death as well. Um, it has to do with loss, wins, and also losses. Okay. It has to do with investigation, deep research, hidden assets, okay? Assets that pertain to alimony, finances, people you owe money to, okay? It also has to do with the occult matters, okay? Anything like mediumship and downloads and spirituality, all of that, okay? So it's the money that you are in contract with, a joint partnership, okay? And there's a challenge there with Chiron, okay? And it probably has to do something to do with family, with children, okay? Something prophetic that is being talked about, maybe with children, and is bringing a challenge to something you have to heal with Taurus, okay? So just any conversations that are being happening, maybe during the FIFA, during the commercials, or anything you're doing, especially on Father's Day, okay? There could be some healing that needs to happen with fathers, okay? Because Mercury is in the sign of families in the eighth house, okay? And there's something prophetic about that. Another thing too, let me see this one here. Okay, another thing too here is that Mercury, of what we are communicating at the 24 degree of prophecy, and it also rules beaches and oceans and so forth, is a degree of Pisces, of beliefs and so forth. It is coming together with the asteroid of Mexico. Okay, these could be conversations about Mexico, conversations about the FIFA, conversations about Mexicans, conversations about Mexican food, anything that pertains to that. It could be the police in Mexico because it's at 18 degrees. Okay, it could be anything that pertains to that. And then it's challenging where we need to heal. It could be something like, oh, like putting somebody on a pedestal and then, not knowing, that there's a healing aspect that needs to happen, not knowing really what's really going behind closed doors, and, and pumping, a certain family member, but you really don't know how they're really living, and there's the real healing there that family needs to do, you know, because what we see out there, we might see them like, oh, it's a perfect family and everything's perfect, but deep inside it might not be so perfect like we see it. Okay, so just go based on it, and it could be anything. It could be like the food could look so perfect, right? And the challenge is that they didn't really have money to make that food, so they had to borrow the neighbor's beans. It's just an example, you know what I mean? But they look so good. The food looks so good. Yeah, but it's the beans are from the neighbor. You know what I mean? It could look like magic. It looks so good. And it doesn't matter if the neighbor, if it comes from the neighbor's the beans come from the neighbor. But understand that it took some sort of sacrifice to go and ask, an embarrassment or humiliation to go ask the neighbor for a cup of beans, right? It's just an example. That hasn't happened to us. I'm just saying it's something to do with that, right? And so we need to heal in that, like not lie, just be truthful about where you are in your situation, and it's okay. It's not the end of the world, right? It's just a situation that's happening now, and it's not going to be forever, and this too shall pass. Another thing that Chiron is doing here, so it's challenging whatever we're communicating, okay? It's challenging Jupiter, okay? And it's challenging Pluto, okay? Pluto is a big heavy hitter there, okay? But Jupiter, it could be overindulgence. There could be lies involved, propaganda. So watch out for that propaganda. We know Jupiter is still in Cancer, and it's about to jump into Leo. Okay, I just can't wait for it to leave Cancer, because there's been too much drama when it comes to families, when it comes to children, when it comes to real estate. It's been too dramatic, And let me look at Jupiter. Yeah, it's especially right now. It is at 28 degrees of ancestry. That is where Jupiter is. Okay. So it's interesting because I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, it is trining my sun in Pisces at 28 degrees. Exactly at 28 degrees. This is Jupiter. So it could be a blessed time for me. It is about standing out, putting myself out in the limelight, talking about my ancestry, in a great way, that's going to highlight, the positives of my family, not always a negative. And it's not so bad, you know what I mean? It's just a lot of it is just entertainment, I guess. But it is things that we really do need to work on. But right now, Jupiter in Cancer, it is making a trine, which is in alignment, in harmony with my sun in Pisces at 28. That has to do with ancestors. That rules the father and so forth. So something's being highlighted about the father, or in my case, because I have sun at 28. And they're both water signs. Okay, so it could be some kind of fortunate moment, a fortunate time. And not only that, it's also making a trine to my part of fortune in Scorpio. So imagine Jupiter trying the part of fortune in Scorpio, because they're both water signs. Very, very fortunate time. Okay. So, and right now it's perfect for me to be taking like these royal baths and these champagne baths and making me feel good, and, going out to nature and just, spending time with my turtle and all of that. Being around the water is very, very important. So that's what's happening there. But for the collective, what's happening is that Chiron in Taurus is squaring Jupiter. Okay. And so it is challenging. It pretty much, Chiron and Taurus is like the police. I say, okay, the party's over. Everybody go home. It kind of reminds me of what happened in the beach in Newport Beach, right? When they had the tidal kings, the waves. And what happened was that, was it Newport Beach or Huntington Beach? One of those beaches. I think it was Newport Beach. And the cops came, and then the fire department, like right in the middle of the beach, they said, okay, everybody pick up your stuff, pick up your bags, because we got some, king tidal waves that are here, and you're going to get swept away if you don't. I don't know what was happening over there in Orange County and San Diego and Santa Barbara and all these places, these king tidal. I know what it was. It was a Fomaha that is still there. And when Fomaha comes together with the North Node of Pisces, that has to do with waves. And then Fomaha, think about it like Uranus energy, okay? It's shocking. It's unexpected. Is, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that's so insane. It's so crazy. It can also have some Plutonian energies on Fomaha, this star that they call it the danger star, right? But it does have Uranus in it. Okay, and it does have some plutonium in there where it can't kill you if you're not careful. Okay, but the waters were so huge. There were big giant tidal waves, right? They never had that. It's never been that big like that, right? So it was a big old deal in Orange County. And a lot of paparazzi, a lot of people talking about it in videos and sharing about it and so forth. So, it could be something like that where, the fire department say, everybody go home. That's like Chiron and Taurus. Go home because, you got to go home because you're going to get swept off the waves, right? And so when it's challenging Jupiter, Chiron and Taurus, it's challenging Jupiter in Cancer, which has to do with the ocean as well. Jupiter is about having fun. We're having fun. It's so much fun. We're having a great time. And then here comes Chiron and Taurus. Everybody go home, right? And it's a Debbie Downer, here it comes to kill off our moods. And so there could be something to that effect, okay? When it comes to Chiron squaring Jupiter, it could be like something went over the top. And here comes the police. Like, okay, we got it, lockdown, or we got a, what is it? Curfew. Not lockdown, but curfew. So there's a curfew. So, everybody go home. right? So that's an example of could happen. Okay. Chiron also, like I said, is squaring Pluto, and Pluto's in Aquarius. That's a doozy. Okay. Chiron squaring Pluto. Let's look at Pluto here. It's at the 5 degree and it's in retrograde. So we're talking about things of the past. Okay. 5 degree has to do with entertainment. Is not so like doom and gloom like a 4 degree, where a 4 degree is very like about rules and military and the police and so forth. 5 degree is very entertaining, it's very let's have fun and so forth with Pluto. And in Aquarius, it has to do with technology. Okay, it could be the e-bikes, it could be any type of bike, it could be your phone, it could be anything like that. It's in retrograde, and I don't know why my phone has been a little bit acting up. It's been a little bit slow. I don't know if I had to maybe charge it or something. But when I was typing in X, it was kind of slowing down, and I didn't like that. I was like, why is it slowing down so much? So anyway, so Chiron is challenging Pluto here in Aquarius in the house of wealth, in the house of I have, in the second house. Okay. So the second house has to do with investments. It has to do with earning power, money, possessions. It could even be vehicles. It could be real estate. Let me take a drink. Okay. It has to do with how we earn money, and also how we establish ourselves in the world. Okay. How to use what we possess and what reveals our values. Okay. So second house is very important because it's our money, our destiny, our uniqueness of how we earn any possessions that you might have. That's why the motto is I have. Is that there's certain things that you have. Okay. So Chiron is squaring your possessions. It's squaring what you have. It is squaring with Aquarius and Pluto. It might be squaring. Let me look at what is coming together with it. Well, it is squaring Altar. I mean, it is squaring. Yeah, it's squaring Altar too. Pluto is coming together with Altar. Altar is this eagle that is able to see everything, and is very high elevated, and it's coming together with Pluto. Okay, this transformation that needs to happen. This eagle eyeball that is able to see everything, and also is coming together. Pluto's coming together with Juno. Okay. Juno is this asteroid here of marriages and contracts. And let me see if it's in the same house. No, this one's in the third house. So this is about communication, about either marriages, contracts, partnerships, anything that has to do with your local community, with how you think. It has to do with any certain communication languages. It has to do with newspapers and the media. All of that, siblings, magazines, newspapers. I mentioned that. Any anything to do with podcasting and blogging and publishing and books and so forth. Pluto is coming together with that Juno. Okay, with what needs to be talked about, what needs to be communicated about. Okay, and it's at the 10 degree of Capricorn. Okay, so there's could be these marriages, these Capricorn marriages, or there's this transformation that's happening to these Capricorn marriages. Okay, that are either young, because Aquarius has to do with young people, or couples that are innovative. Okay, that need to be talked about, that needs to be transformed. Okay, and in order for you to have fun, in order for the couple to have fun, how can we, be more entertaining? How can we have more fun with the kids? Especially if 5 degrees has to do with children. Okay. how can we travel more? How can we explore more? How can we, do fun things, right? Maybe there's this boredom there. How can we liven our relationship, right? And a lot of the times you can't seem to have fun because it's squaring Chiron and Taurus. So there's this healing aspect that needs to happen when it comes to your worth. It's kind of like saying, why don't we go here? And it's like, but we don't have money to go there, And it's like, well, I have some money saved up, we can go. It's like, but seriously, no, we need that because, we need to, take the kids to, we need to buy him all his uniform for baseball, That's just an example. If you have a kid that's in baseball or something. And it's like, well, we can't use it, but we want to have fun and so forth, It's like, and, over here, the Pluto and Aquarius wants to take a risk, wants to be more risky. But maybe, the Chiron and Taurus is thinking more along, do we have the money to do certain things like that? It could be like going to a FIFA game, you know, and you want to take the whole kids and, like 10 children with you or something. And it's like, well, there's other things you can do. You don't have to go to the Coliseum. You could go to a FIFA zone, right? Where you can enjoy yourself and take the kids where they don't charge for children. Something like that, right? And but there's something that needs to be healed with that Chiron and Taurus, that is challenging Pluto of how with also the marriages, with how to transform those marriages, right? And the challenge might be that you don't want to take a risk. The challenge might be, even though the 0 degrees in Chiron and Taurus is a rebellious degree of all or nothing, right? It's kind of like saying, well, we either have the money or we don't. It's thinking very black and white. It's not thinking, in the middle. It's not thinking gray, we just don't have the money. That's it, you know. And there are some couples that can think that way, right? And that can really get in your way and stand in your way of having fun, And say, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? We don't have to go to the Coliseum. We could go to a fan zone. You could go to West Harbor, you know? You could go to West Harbor and have a really good time where they don't charge for the kids, only for the adults. And, there's going to be a lot of people, and it's going to be right by the water, and it's going to be classy, and there's going to be a lot of restaurants, and we could just, walk around and, and get to know, the port, and, tourism and so forth, and just have a good time, right? So it could be something like that. Okay. But yeah, it's something about, it's very fixated. It's a fixed sign, Taurus. Okay. So it could be very rebellious right now, even though it's at the 0 degree of rebellion, but it could be very rebellious where it's like, it's my way or the highway. So it could be, it's not so open-minded like Chiron Aries was. Chiron and Aries was like, let's go, Chiron and Taurus is like, well, do we got the money? Because it's thinking more about the money, Another thing too is that Chiron is also squaring Fama. Okay, Fama is this asteroid about fame and celebrities and standing out and putting yourself out there. And so it could be holding you back. So you got to tell that Chiron and Taurus, like, it got to loosen up a little. Okay, loosen up a little. It's not a big deal. It doesn't have to be perfect. We don't have to have the millions to do this, and because if you don't, that's going to square. If you're trying to be famous or you're trying to put yourself out there or something, is going to challenge it. Okay. There's something about that Chiron and Taurus is challenging this. It could be celebrities. It's challenging celebrities. It's not supporting celebrities or something like that. Let's see here. Another square, it is this Chiron. I don't know what type of energy this Chiron and Taurus is, to tell you the truth, because it's squaring Christian, the asteroid of Christianity. I don't know. It's just having too many rules. It came really pissed off. Chiron and Taurus is really pissed off. It does not want to work with nobody. It wants to put rules. It wants to be very authoritative. And that's what I'm looking at, the energy. And so it's even challenging Christian, like Christians. And so Beware of that. Where is let me see. Um is it in Gemini? No, that's Italia. That's Abundantia. Um where did could be. Oh, yeah, I think it's in Capricorn. Yeah. Christianity is in the sign of Capricorn and it's in retrograde. So this has to do with the past. Okay. And it's at 26 degrees of wealth. Okay. Big, big wealth. So these, we're talking about like Christians from the past. Okay. When it pertained to money, when it pertained to wealth, um, it's the degree of Taurus. It's very fixated, but it has something to do with the past. Okay, that's where the asteroid of Christianity is. Okay, and Chiron in Taurus is squaring that asteroid of wealth in the sign of Capricorn, and it has to do with beliefs. It has to do. It could be real estate. Um, it could be real estate. It could be challenging right now, like the real estate of some Christians or some beliefs, or maybe in Christian communities. Maybe they're going to start raising high prices. Maybe the prices were affordable. Now, all of a sudden, well, you have enough money, so we're going to raise the rent. We're going to raise the lease. We're going to raise, oh, we're not selling that house for that. Now we're selling it for this, something like that. Something to do with, like, for an example, I did an example for my e-bike that I wanted. And it's not a really big deal, okay? But it was at $303 and free shipping, right? And now it says price dropped, right, on the bike. So now I think it's like 269 or something like that. But it's not free shipping. Now it's on top of that, the 269, which was dropped. Now there's a $50 shipping fee on top of it. So when you add it up, instead of being 303 of what it was with free shipping, now it's $319, which is not really a big deal, but they try to trick you. They try to trick you with like, well, it is 269, which is cheaper, but you have to pay a $50 shipping fee. So now the e-bike or the scooter, it's a little bit more pricey now, but it seems like it's cheaper. You know what I mean? Like it's more inexpensive. So it could be something to do with that. We're like, well, we'll lower this price, or we'll, put it up to this price because it looks like you got money, you know? And so there could be some kind of challenge there. Okay, challenging the people's money of those that are like either Christian believers, real estate, where there's something to do with real estate. Okay, something to the price of real estate, because it's in the second house of. Well, let me check. Yeah, I did say second house, right? Yes, the second house of money here of I have. And that's where the asteroid of Christianity is, and it's in retrograde. So this has something to do with the past, way past, okay, with Christianity. So there could be some ethics on there. I mean, it goes way back. And it's so interesting that the Lion King astrologer, I'm sure you guys have heard it. If you have not, he's on YouTube. He did a recent video on Chiron and Taurus, right, with this other lady that's another astrologer. And they're talking about the past, something pertaining to Chiron and Taurus, very historical past, okay? Something to do with boats and ships and the ocean and so forth. And, like religion and the religion sector and the beliefs and all of that. I didn't get to, I want to see the video. It sounds very educational and very intellectual as well, even if you do not understand astrology. I mean, they do talk about topics about ships and boats and how it pertains to the past, this Chiron and Taurus, which is so interesting because it's squaring this asteroid of Christianity. So I don't know what is up with this Chiron and Taurus, but if it was a female, I would say she's a little bitch. Okay, she's very bitchy right now, and I don't know what's up with her, but she is just like, I don't know. Maybe we could feel her. I know sometimes I kind of feel her, but I'm not trying to be like that. You know what I mean? Like, no, I feel more. I feel more. I'm hearing something about your progress. Oh God, I have a lot of Taurus there. Um, but you know, or I don't know. I have Mars and Pisces there too, but it gets along with Taurus, so I don't know. But you know, it's. I'm just saying right now. Just it could be that 0 degrees of rebellion that is very rebellious right now. I do feel more motivated. I do feel more confident as soon as China jumped in Taurus. Um, I don't know. I just feel very confident. I feel very, but I'm hearing conviction. The word conviction is coming down. So there maybe there's some people are getting convicted with that. I don't feel convicted. I'm not perfect, but I haven't done like really awful things. Like really bad things and stuff like that. Like what celebrities are doing and all that stuff. But um, you know, I'm human, but I don't go that way. I got God in my life, so we'll see what happens. I just wanted to point it out here of what China and Taurus is doing right now, and people just do not like this China and Taurus. Okay, especially because it's in the fifth house of celebrities. It's probably messing with these celebrities here, especially wherever you have Leo, wherever you have Scorpio, where you have Aquarius. Okay, so yeah. So anyway, this is what we have here. Just want to also note that if you want to take a look at the website at www.starzenith33.com and you want to get a reading, you can go there and book a reading. If not, that is fine. Okay, I'm just having to promote it here on the podcast. Also, if you did like the episode, do share, tell your friends and family, and subscribe as I'm consistently doing it almost every day. Okay, I'm trying to do this. See if I could do one every day. For 21 days and see how that goes, just to get in the consistently and just jump in there real quick. But when I say real quick, it usually ends up being a whole hour. So anyway, I appreciate you all, and happy Father's Day to everybody. And if you did like it, do share, subscribe, and tell your friends and family so we can continue doing these podcasts that are very important so people can know the frequencies of what is going on. So if something weird is happening in your life, you know why. Okay? Blame it on Chiron and Taurus. No, you don't have to blame it. But, that's what we have. So talk to you on the next one. Bye.